Beloved friends, today we celebrate the 19th Sunday in Ordinary Time. Who is the God you worship? And how would you describe him? Every religion asks this fundamental question: who is God? Now, growing up in Africa, different tribes and ethnic groups understood God in many different ways. And as a matter of fact, every tribe had its own name, stories, and images of the Creator. There were beliefs about the spirits of the ancestors, the forces of nature, and the unseen world. Yet, beneath all those traditions, there was one conviction that almost everyone shared: that is, that there is a supreme God, the great one above all others. He is the creator of the heaven and earth, the source of life, the one who is greater than every power, every spirit, and every human being. Now, in my culture, this very God is called Akwaba Sibom. But there was also a certain distance. Many believed he was too great, too holy, too far away to be approached directly. Thus, people often felt the need for intermediaries to reach him. Now, is your God distant or near? Is he a shared power or is he communion? Does he serve by force or draw people into faith? Today's three readings answer these questions about the Christian God with remarkable depth. They reveal not only what God does, but who God is. The first reading from the first book of Kings, chapter 19, takes us to Mount Horeb, the mountain of the covenant. Elijah stands where Moses once stood, waiting for God to reveal himself. There is a mighty wind, an earthquake, and the fire, the very signs associated with God's revelation on Sinai. Yet the Lord was not in them. But finally comes the sound of a gentle whisper, and only then does Elijah recognize the Lord. This story is about a decisive moment in salvation history. God reveals that his omnipotence is not expressed merely in overwhelming display of force. Now, although God is infinitely powerful, he approaches humanity with humility, inviting rather than compelling. The fathers of the church saw in this gentle whisper the way God prepares humanity for the coming of Christ, who will reveal divine glory, not through military triumph, but through the humility of the cross. Now, the gospel reading today from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 14, brings this revelation to its fullness. The disciples are battling the sea, which in biblical thought is not merely water, but the symbol of chaos, evil, and the power opposed to God's creative order. In the Old Testament, if you can remember, only God had dominion over the sea. But here Jesus walks upon the sea effortlessly. Matthew's claim here is that the authority that belongs to the God of Israel belongs to Jesus Christ. And it is on that authority that he speaks. Take courage, it is I, do not be afraid. In Greek, the word it is I are ego eimi. I am, echoing the divine name revealed to Moses at the burning bush. Matthew is not simply telling us that Jesus identifies himself, but he is revealing that the God who spoke to Moses now stands before his disciples in the flesh. Now, Peter's request, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you, is significant here. Faith is never merely believing truths about Jesus Christ as it is moving towards him. Peter walks on the water, and because he is possessed, not because he possesses extraordinary strength, but because he participates in the power of the one who calls him. Now, the Christian life is always a participation in the life of Christ. Left to ourselves, we will sink. But united with him, we can do what is humanly impossible. This is where St. Paul's letter to the Romans chapter 9 in the second reading makes a great sense. St. Paul grieves over Israel's unbelief, despite all the privileges they receive, the covenant, the law, the worship, and the promises. His sorrow reminds us that revelation alone is not enough. God may reveal himself perfectly, but faith still requires a free response. My dear friends, the Christian God is not a distant force, but a God who draws near to us. He speaks in silence, working our chaos, and patiently awaits our response. He does not overwhelm us into disbelief, into belief, but he calls us into communion. The same mystery unfolds at every Eucharist. The Lord who was present in the whisper to Elijah, who walked upon the waters of Galilee, and who formed Israel into his people, now comes to walk under the humble appearance of bread and wine, because he chooses humility over spectacle, presence over display. But do you have the faith to recognize him in the quiet ways he continues to reveal himself? Do you have the courage to leave behind your false image of God and go wherever Christ calls? If you know who your God is and what he looks like, this may be easy. May God bless you.